Guys, in this episode, we interview Dr. Christian Caswell, who is one of the youngest and yet most inspiring and ambitious chiropractic leaders in our space. I'm so excited for you to listen to this. I actually try to almost go more on a personal level and really understand the person behind Top Chiro and how they've scaled to so many clinics in the UK so quickly and so effectively. You're not going to regret watching this episode. Please stay until the end because we get to some interesting, tricky and controversial questions. And now back to the show. Dr. Christian, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited. We've been planning this back and forth for months. My fault. I actually wanted to come and see your clinic. But for those of you who guys are watching or listening, you're in for a treat. We're in for a treat. And Christian, before we go into the nitty-gritty of chiropractic growth, leadership, I actually want to start considering you just told me 30 years old. The amount of stuff you've achieved is amazing. But help me understand and help the listeners understand the Christian before chiropractic. Going back to what we call this the origin story. What was life like when you were growing up? And
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, so I grew up in the northeast of England in a town called Hartlepool. Um, from a young age, I was super keen on sports, football. I was football crazy. Um, my family was super supportive. My mum, dad, and younger brother, they supported me and my younger brother in everything that we did. Our family was really tight knit. So that sort of forges the foundations and creates quite a lot of good characteristics for me to have grown on and learned from and be the person I am. So I had a great family life as a kid, super keen in sports, and my father was a big advocate of anything that we would do it to the best of our ability. Whether that was sports, music, school, he was always after to done the best work he could do. And if I was like, I think I can do better, I'd go off and do better. So basically, that was my upbringing was, yeah, just forged by family pushing me to be the best version of myself. And I, like I said, I was teen sportsman, and at the age of around 10, I injured myself and was unable to continue to play football, which as a 10-year-old, when you play football, like that's everything in your life. I was playing for the local academy, Hartlepool United, and I just couldn't get back to training. And my went to the physiotherapist. I know how I hurt my back, and my I was jumping on the bed and I back dropped, injured my pelvis or spine, and went to see the physical therapist. And he said, "Look, one leg's growing shorter than it's growing slower than the other leg, so we need to put this lift in your shoe to balance things out, and that's going to solve the problem." And in my head, even as a 10-year-old, I was like, "That doesn't make any sense. This happened from doing this. This doesn't make any sense that my leg's shorter." So my dad took me straight to the chiropractor. Next stop, chiropractor ripped out the heel lip in my shoe, did some checks just with me, and I felt way better and started moving better and got back to sport. So from the age of like 10 to 12, I was then keen. I was going to be doing chiropractic. I wanted to do physical therapy. I wanted to work with sports people. Then getting the result with chiropractic put me into doing chiropractic. So at 12, my dad took me down to Bournemouth ACC and said, "If you're going to be a chiropractor, this is where Ken Rose, the chiropractor I'd seen. This is where Ken graduated from. This is where you come to study." So at 12, I was walking around the ACC and yeah, I met one of the interns who was just super um, excited about chiropractic and not necessarily like um, all of the spots in the rehabbing, but chiropractic and the chiropractic philosophy. And that really then is the foundation for me to start studying chiropractic and then going on after that.
that's lovely.
Yeah.
Should we give them a little shout out? Do you remember who that was?
I have no idea who that was, but yeah, I can't thank that person enough for being so excited about chiropractic because now that's transferred to me and now I'm super excited about chiropractic.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh, thank you so much for sharing this. The first thing I thought about was, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, like what you've built, what you guys are building, and then you said sports, and then you said my parents are always pushing me to be someone to be optimizing my full potential. So that makes so much sense. Knowing Christian, knowing what he's building, and being an athlete from a young age. Do you have kids yourself?
No kids, no,
No,
just six practices, which are my adopted children.
just six practices. Yeah, this is something we have to talk about in a minute. Um, yeah, me and my wife always talk about this, how life teaches you some crazy lessons, and then you look back and you realize some of your foundational years are so important for how you show up in life. And sport for me, exactly what you said, showing up on time, having discipline, having structure, having clarity. Do you look for that when you hire, or are you not so concerned about their outside life, outside chiropractic?
Um, when we're looking for people to work with us, yeah, that plays a big part. How you show up and how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So if you understand chiropractic and you've taken the time to dive into philosophy, then once you get that understanding, it just makes complete sense to do it like to the best of your ability in every aspect. So I don't know if we look for like excellence in like, all areas. In fact, I, I love what we've built because people can come and learn so much. But what I do need is like people need the willingness to learn and the willingness to change, and they have to be open-minded and they have to want to practice in a style of chiropractic that we offer, which is just straight chiropractic adjustment only. So if that's what they want, then I think that we have the perfect place for them to grow, be surrounded by amazing people, and yeah, really offer that.
Love that. Amazing. Okay, so then skip forward a few years later, you graduated college. What does what does chiropractic look like for you, or what do those first few years in practice look like? We have like the amazing, the weird, and the wonderful experiences across the profession.
Yeah, yeah. I had a amazing
Start.
clinic that I went to. Yeah, great start that I went to, and I can't thank my like principal chiropractor enough. Oh, I can see him lagging, which is really off. Looks like it's better. Yeah. So my start was I had a great start. I went into a practice. The practice I chose was a Gonstead practice because that's what I was interested in. I was really interested in analysis and where do we make the adjustment? When do we make the adjustment? And for me, having all the correct tools was really important because then it would give me the platform to study, to learn, to grow, and then refine my hands-on skills and communication skills. So I went to corrective chiropractic in Milton Keynes, and I went there with Dr. Lawrence King and Richard Allen. They were created a corrective chiropractic business, and then I was one of the first people to go into that Milton Keynes office, and it had the full Gonstead set, and they offered a lot of new people coming in to see us, and then it was all hands on deck trying to figure out how do we communicate, how do I do the report findings, how do I take the X-rays, how do I draw the X-rays up, how do I make all of the corrections, and so then it was like they gave me a lot of people to work with, and I had to learn very fast, which worked perfectly for me.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So that's where the journey started. I didn't know. And you go from there, seeing your first X-ray after college, to having six practices. Is that right?
Yeah, Cairo in the UK has six. We have four of the cervical offices and two full spine practices. In Milan. So I worked there for 2 years, and then I left in 2020 to go and set up, and I just changed the plans and had to adapt to what happened in 2020 fairly quickly.
Mm.
But the first practice opened in 2020, and we opened um, Top Chiropractic Edinburgh in 3 months ago.
And you were just telling me that when your colleague and partner comes back from his trip, I hope he's listening to this. He's in
Yeah,
for a shock how busy you guys are, which is
uh,
really cool
I
to
know
see.
he's I know he's checking the diary, and I know he's excited to see all of the new people coming through, and
Amazing.
the diary filling up. So yeah, it's looking great.
It's amazing. But for those people who are watching and listening, for example, I have a consulting business for chiropractors, and we have a great community. But if I didn't connect with you or I didn't know much about you, what is Top Chiro? Do you want to give us a little bit of like I call it the spiel? Like tell us the 30 seconds elevator pitch of what you guys do, like the company and what you guys stand
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, so Top Chiro is an international chiropractic organization, if you like now. Started in the Netherlands, and there's 19 practices in the Netherlands. They
Started in the
are,
Netherlands, did you say?
yeah, in the Netherlands.
Okay.
They're franchises and operated by a Dr. Travis Cochran, someone who's been a big mentor for me. In the UK, I have the license, so we have six clinics in the UK. We have in two clinics in Italy, Cyprus, Norway, uh, Puerto Rico, and I might be missing one, but it's a international chiropractic group essentially. And yeah, it's straight chiropractic, objective straight chiropractic only, and we are yeah that's all we do, you know, that's what we stand for. That's where we put our time, resources. And we have people involved in politics, people involved in education, and then obviously people involved in business as well.
I love that. What's your, do you mind me asking more of a personal question? What's your like the things that you really, really enjoy? Because being a business owner, you know this, you have to wear what, 30 different hats each day, every hour of the day. What do you enjoy in the whole ecosystem of things you have to do?
I think I enjoy training. So watching people start to figure out concepts, figure out how to communicate, figure out how to analyze scans, how to look after people. I really like the philosophy and the teaching, really, is my interest. And this sort of organization has allowed me to sort of be able to do that on a bigger scale than I thought I would.
Has it been challenging? Because I guess you've had to go from like one level for you to the next level is probably something that people don't achieve their whole lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, everything's relative, right? But it's been a challenge. But yeah, there's- we have there's little satisfaction from doing things that hold no difficulties, right? So if we can achieve something and we can, this is difficult to overcome, there's a lot of satisfaction, there's a lot to be gained from it. And for me, chiropractic is such a big, um, such an amazing profession. I'm happy to go through it all, you know. And I don't think it's been a struggle, but at the same time, it's been enjoyable. I've loved it. I'm loving every moment of it.
What did you tell me once? You said big, big life, big goals, or something like I'm probably butchering it now.
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, this might be so Liam Schubel, he came to speak when we were at the AECC and he filled out the AECC and he says one of his quotes is the bigger the vision, the bigger the life. And I think it's just true, you know, like if we
Absolutely.
set our targets super high, then yeah, so much great stuff comes from it.
Yeah, I love that. And in terms of your role in the whole organization, how much of it is being a leader? How much of it is leadership? I see you guys on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media platforms, constantly teaching, constantly learning, constantly like sharing what you guys are like doing, and it just looks like there is so much investment in your teams, which my belief is the business is all about the team because they're the ones who serve the public. If you build a true business, but how much of your role is a leader?
Well, yeah, on every aspect, you know, you have to be a leader in every aspect of what we're doing. So like 100% of it is leading by example. Um, yeah, and that's why you look around, a lot of these people don't switch off. We're always involved in things. This weekend I'll be on Bournemouth talking to students. Last weekend we had stuff going on in the Milton Keynes office. The weekend before, a lot of top Cara people were at the IFCO Global Summit, and just being there and showing up and representing is yeah, it's what we enjoy doing. And we have a big mission and vision, so it serves us to be there.
Love that. Are you allowed to share the mission, the vision, or is that more of a, like an internal thing you mentioned, mission and vision?
We actually I don't have the mission vision off the top of my head, but you can narrow it down to like every man, woman, and child checked and adjusted for subluxation. I mean,
Lovely. Love that. Love that.
that's what we're aiming for, you know.
Okay, so one thing, and you're still like, we're both fairly young, but I'm a little bit, I have more grace than you, so I'm a little bit older, and I'm not going to say how old I am, but it's very easy for me and you to talk about success and to talk about how many lives we've changed because of the impact we're having. One thing people don't talk about is how difficult it is to be the leader, to show up, to travel from Bournemouth to Milton Keynes to Greece, to come back from mission trips. You guys did that in 1 year, right? What is the hardest truth about leadership that people don't talk about? Because I don't know what happens, but like just today, you're like, yeah, Stefan, you can come to Milton Keynes, or I'll be traveling to Bournemouth later. I'm like, dude, like you don't stop.
Yeah, I think part of it is just showing up day in, day out, you know. It's like I was listening to someone speak not long back, and even on our philosophy call, we had a philosophy call today. People talk about burnout, people talk about grinding, and we've got to grind for the first few years. Well, for me, like the vision, the mission, my purpose is some. I'm not going to burn out doing that. You know, it actually fulfilled me to keep doing this stuff and seeing people change. You know, so I mean, I guess the first thing is that it's non-stop. And when people say to grind, well, when people say, oh, you have to grind for the first few years. Well, if you keep working hard, the second few years and the third few years, you'll find that you'll just get exponential growth. I think it's just a relentlessness of not switching off and going again and making mistakes and then figuring out why you made that mistake and then putting it right for the next time, you know? So I think, yeah, that's the main thing. It's just being relentless.
I love that. I love it. My wife doesn't like it. And I don't know if you have a partner, but one of the one of the conversations we always have, she's like, "You're such a workaholic, Stefan. Just chill. We've got the coaching, the consultancy, the chiropractic side, the business, the clinic." I I don't think sometimes people understand when it's almost like a disease. It's addictive, but it gives you energy. It doesn't take energy, right? And yes, it might be a grind the first few years, but I'm so happy doing it. It's such a like thing that gives me purpose, and I'm not just saying it because that's the right thing to say. There's many times where I couldn't think of anything worse than put my feet up and watch football on Sunday night. I'm like, no, like we've got so many things to do next week. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if I'd call it a disease. I'd say it's like a positive feedback loop, you know. The more you pour into it, the more that comes back. The more you give and the more that comes back in, it's great, you know, the more it's just like, but if you can keep if stuff keeps coming back, we just keep on giving, keep on putting into it. So yeah, and if there's it just but yeah, you have to just keep doing it, keep uh putting into it. And for me, just keeps coming back. So it makes sense to me to keep putting back into it, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Is there on a more practical scale, if I'm a business owner and I have one clinic and I want to follow Dr. Christian's footsteps, this is more business related, not necessarily philosophy and chiropractic. For the listeners or people who are like, hey, I want to get to 5 clinics, I want to get to 6 clinics, I want to get to 10. What are some of the practical implications of you actually making sure that you show up as your best self? Not just the why behind why you do it. Let's say you get your why figured out. What does day to day look
Yeah.
like for you? Like, do you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and meditate? Do you light candles before you go to bed? And what does that look like for you?
You know, all of those things. You have to meditate on it. No, you have to, I mean, meditation and thinking about things is good, but it's constant action, you know, like you can't, if you just sit, meditate on all of the things you need to do, things don't get done. So preparing and planning is key. For me, the key to growing is obviously the correct people, finding the correct people to work with in your team. That's going to either give you energy or take a lot of your energy away. It's one thing that you can't systematize is people. So you need the right people in the right positions. So I'd spend a lot of time finding those people. Um, because that's going to then give you the platform to grow. People who are proactive, people who can troubleshoot their own phones when the practice is running. Do you need to be on the phone all the time saying, oh, the Wi-Fi has gone down? Okay, have you reset it? No, okay, we'll do that and then we can talk about it. So if you have the right people who are proactive and they're pushing things, it gives you a platform to grow. If you have people that you need to micromanage all the time, then that becomes really really difficult. The great book called Good to Great, and one of the things it says in that, I don't want to get his name wrong, maybe James Collins, is that you need the right people on the bus. Like you need the right people in the team. And you might have the right people just in the wrong seats. So you might have a couple of clinics, but you might have some people in the wrong locations. When you have the right people on the bus and you figure out the right seats for them to be in, then people are self-motivated, people are self-driven, and people do the work, you know. That
Cool.
comes from them teaching and training.
Yeah, I love that. So that's one practical point. And I actually think I didn't expect you to say that, but I understand why you said that. That's super important because your energy, your work, everything will be so much more of a headache if you don't have the right structure, like organizational chart, the right people in the right place. So, guys, surround yourself with A players. What else matters for you to show up as your best self? And I'm looking at like, I'm super pedantic about protocols, and I
Mm.
completely understand that what works for you may not work for someone. But people might not even know what Christian's day looks like running 6 clinics. Are you a morning person? Do you go to bed late? Do you
I'm
exercise?
a
Do you drink 2 liters of water a day?
no, I'm a morning person, so I usually work up around 5:30. Um, I try and train as early as possible. I make sure I'm in bed by 10. Like big thing on sleep hygiene. We have the mattress which cools you and adds to your recovery, you know. So I, I'm not like a chiropractic is all I do. I still understand that your sleep, how you move, how you think, all these things are important. So you need to focus on those things. Otherwise, you are going to end up in a mess. You see some people and some leaders, and you look at them and you think, well, you're not very healthy. You might have all this stuff, but you don't look very healthy. And as a chiropractic professional, we're talking about life and life expression. You've got to be expressing life at a decent level as well. So yeah, I invest a lot in that. I exercise as often as I can, at least 3 times a week. If I could, I would exercise 7 days a week. Um, when I train, I usually do things like CrossFit. That's what I enjoy doing. And then from from right now, I have a lot of calls and meetings with people like who are of managing certain areas, right? For like social media, we'll have a call with the lady that's dealing with social media, and we've got a full day planned. Now I work with my partner Phoebe, and we talk about what we're going to tick off today essentially. Then we get to work on those things. But delegation key. Um, at first, it was me doing all of the things, me wearing all the hats, and it was really like having to learn so much so quickly. Now it's a lot more delegating, and I get to work on what needs my attention.
Love that. Thanks, dude. Is delegation something that comes to you naturally? Were you comfortable delegating initially?
Not really, no. I like to do everything, but it's something that you've got to learn. So you're going to be your biggest limiting factor if you have to do everything. You have to be involved with everything. That's you're going to limit yourself by doing that. And one thing that my dad learned from me, he was like, "You've been very good at getting stuff." He spent his life perfecting things, and I spend my life getting them done so that they operate, and then I'll come back and tighten them up. But as long as it does the process correctly, I'll come back and I'll sharpen it up down the line. So now, a couple of years in, now we've had to go back and we're refining things and we're sharpening them up, which is where now a lot of the time goes. But for me, it was like get it done, get it operational, then we'll sharpen it up because there's so many things to do.
I don't think people understand that when they have a small office or they only have one practice. There's so much stuff. But I love that. What's the saying? Getting it done is better than perfect, or done
Yeah.
is better than perfect.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
And I always, yeah, it's funny because now we've got people coming in. I was like, oh, I meant to sort that out like last year. I was thinking about that, for example, I'm speaking with a lady called Diana who's doing our media. She's working on Apple Maps, which if anyone starts looking at stuff like that, they realize it's awful. And I spent like time trying to figure it all out, and I just left it. Now she's doing it, and I was like, I meant to do that years ago. Now it's your turn. Now she's having the same headaches as I was having, so I'm glad it wasn't just me. But we got it to a point where it worked. Now I was like, it'd be really nice if it was super polished and we had great photos and everything was consistent across all the locations. Now we're going back and we're doing all of that. We're making everything consistent, everything the same service, everything. Yeah.
Love that, dude. Yeah, it's so nice to hear. And I also think people in the chiropractic space, is in the UK, I don't know about necessarily Europe and the States, operate at like, if I'm a Ferrari, they're like driving at 30 miles an hour. And it's so nice, I think, to speak to people like yourself or other people in the industry that are leaders and are building something amazing for people just to see what's possible. Because I bet you if someone spends a day with you, it'll feel like a month. Am I wrong in saying that?
I guess it depends on the day, but yeah, it's definitely could be. We yeah, I do work at a million miles an hour, and yeah, if someone came and looked over my shoulder, it would be like try and keep up if you can, but I'm all over the place. And yeah, and I think that's it as well. Like speed of implementation, speed of things is really important. Like industry leaders, they're quick to implement. So you've got to be one of the things with it. If I like to know, like if I ask you to do something, how quickly is it going to come back? It's like that's a big thing. Like if you can get it done quickly and get back to me, we can move really quick. We can, like I said, we can always tighten it up and refine it down the line. But let's just get the meat and the bones on there first, and then we can keep moving along. So speed of implementation and speed of action is really important.
Amazing. I love that. Someone said to me once, be patient with your results and impatient with your action. Because good things take time to build, but you've got to launch it out there and just do as many tests as you can and experiments and implement.
Yeah, definitely.
Love that. Love that, Christian. So if every single chiropractor in the UK is listening to us right now, what could be the one thing that is an uncomfortable truth that you would say to them? And that's probably a controversial question, but I want to hear your opinion.
So I don't. It's a tough one, and I think that it is really uncomfortable. But one of my first interview questions is, okay, so you just, and a lot of people are new grads. So when you new grads look at this and then they come for an interview, then you're going to know my first question, and you should nail it. But I asked them like, okay, so you graduated as a chiropractor. What is chiropractic?
I bet the answers you get are so wishy-washy, so fluffy.
Mm. And I mean that's a big problem. Because if I ask my team, when you define chiropractic, they'll define chiropractic. What's the objective of a chiropractor? Got it. But I would say that 99% of chiropractors couldn't tell you what chiropractic is or what the chiropractic objective is. So that means that, like, just think about McDonald's. What's the objective of the McDonald's? What do you think everyone knows what they're there to do? Sell burgers. Ask if they want fries. And hopefully they get McFlurries. They're very clear on what it is they're there to do. Everyone works towards the same thing. Let's get these burgers out. Let's do it. But if you ask chiropractor, like, what do you do? What's your objective? How do you know when to start? How do you know when to stop? Then they're all, yeah, they don't know. So for me, the biggest thing would be it's philosophy. It's you either define it and you either go and study it or you don't, and it gets sort of defined for you if you like. We don't know what your philosophy is. Not that you don't have one, it's just you don't understand it. So yeah, the biggest thing is that people don't know what it is that they do and they can't define it like perfectly and they don't know their service perfectly. And if they could do that, I think we would be in a much, much better place.
Yeah, I could tell you're not very comfortable answering that question, but that's what we need to hear, dude. That's what we need because I think, without being too political, I actually stay away from politics just because I don't think I can add much value to it. But the problem is not that patients don't understand what we do. The problem I always think is we don't understand what we do.
Yeah.
And we've been suppressed for like, I don't know, what, 100 years. And we act from such a place of like almost like constrictive, fixed mindset as opposed to like shouting and screaming how we can change people's lives. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once you get a big idea, it's sort of your like morals obligation to share it with as many people as possible. Once you understand that, you understand, okay, this is why we need to show up on time. This is why we need to be uh, dressed correctly, look smart, have a shower. Like this is why this is so important because it impacts people's lives. It doesn't treat people's pain and symptoms. It impacts every aspect of their life. So when you understand that, everything else is like, yeah, well, obviously I'll come to work on time. Obviously I'll do this. I'll give that health talk or I'll brush up on refine my skills. That makes complete sense.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Thank you for sharing. I spent 8 years refining our message internally for what we stand for as a clinic, as an organization. And it started off like super long, year one. And now it's we change people's lives one patient at a time. And everything around what we do, every business decision we make, every clinical CPD that we sign up for is based on that. We change people's lives. And the reason why I put one patient at a time is we are lucky to have 100 plus new patients per clinic every single month. And sometimes the clinicians get complacent. Even in my organization, where we have everything is structured, we stand for good things. You've probably seen this, right? And getting complacent, it's not just an x-ray, right? It's not just another shoulder pain or a headache. It's a person. And we always have this like internal reminder for everyone in the companies, guys, we actually change people's lives. You've got to show up with that level of importance.
Mm. That's true. And you take a sloppy X-ray, it means you can't analyze it correctly, which means that then when you put your hand on something, you're not as certain as you need to be, which means that then that adjustment isn't delivered with the same, you're just not there, you're second guessing yourself. Um, so even like, why did you take the sloppy? Oh, you left someone's riding on, there's a belt buckle on there. That small thing escalates to that person doesn't get the 5-star service that they need at the other end. So yeah, the small things escalate to big things, they compound.
Let me ask you a tricky question in that case, because I'm noticing a pattern here. You started the interview by saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. and I'm a little bit like you. But if I was to remove you from your 6 clinics for 6 months and the guys cannot communicate with you, do you think that is top-down leadership that sets the standard for your clinic, or do you think you have the right culture, systems, procedures, processes, philosophy in place?
Yeah, I think if I left for 6 months, I think we would continue to develop and grow. I think the number would keep rising. Um, I don't know if it would be as fast. Obviously, there's less people getting involved, but we definitely wouldn't be like at the same rate. But I know that the service, yeah, I know the service would be great. I know that we would continue to grow. Um, I've got no doubt. I trust the team implicitly.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's just I always think if someone shows up and there's a crease on their shirt, I don't have to, I can say no, it's okay. Or I can, this is the standard because me not saying something sets a different standard. And I think I don't know you that well, but even just interacting with you for today, it means that you guys are premium.
Yeah, I'd like to think that the standards are high, and it's not that I don't expect anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do. Like, the book called Legacy about the All Blacks, I'm sure. Like, I'll take the bins out at the end of the shift. If I'm in the clinic, in fact, I like to do that. I like to go to see, they've packed everything up. I'm gonna take the bins around the back, but don't worry, I'll do that. It's dark. We could, like, I don't expect people to do anything that I wouldn't do. I'll move to the place, I'll do whatever. Um, but I think that's it, like, and I think that allows the culture to just like maintain, yeah,
Looks
what
like
where it is.
it looks like you're really leading by example, which is amazing. And with that said, based on what we discussed about maybe lack of clarity in philosophy and the standard of the profession and so on, what do you, if you think about, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years about the future of chiropractic, what scares you the most and what excites you the most about the progression of the profession? I imagine what scares you the most is the lack of clarity in chiropractic and between chiropractors.
I mean, I'm very realistic about everything, It's like the worst case situation is that we lose the ability to practice chiropractic. And I was saying this to a couple of people today. When I'm talking about chiropractic, I mean the ability to locate, analyze, and correct subluxation. We're never going to lose the chance to give advice, give exercises, do soft tissue work, give supplements, and tell people what shoes to wear. We're never going to lose that. That's fine. You can do that now, not even a chiropractor. But you will, what scares me is that is possibility, that we could lose that, the, the ability to look at, analyze, and correct subluxation. We already look across the rest of the world, essentially. People can't practice chiropractic to the same standards as we can because they can't take X-rays, they can't use CT scans, analyze things. We can, so that is it's a privilege, and we should really be looking to maintain and get that spread across the rest of the world. Because if you think about it, people outside of the UK couldn't go and get a upper cervical adjustment like they can in the UK.
Mm.
They'd have to. It's almost impossible. So we're lucky to that extent. But what excites me is that that's it. It's a worst case scenario. Best case scenario is that we just continue to clarify. Continue to move forward at pace. And when you get a big idea, you realize that the world is a much better place when people are clear of subluxation.
Oh, I have one or two more questions, but that would have been the perfect way to end it. The world is a better place, man. I love that. Also, when you zoom out, I was watching this program on documentary the other day about sharks, and they're like 400 million years ago, they were on the planet Earth. We've been here for 100 years, the profession. It's still in its infancy. And I think maybe when you're even yourself, when you're so deep and engraved into the philosophy and you live it and you breathe it and you practice it, maybe sometimes it is more difficult to zoom out and go, we're good. People will always have problems with their health. We're in a perfect position to help them. We're good. We've only been here for like a tiny, teeny, minuscule time frame.
Mm. It's true. We are here for a speck of time, right? But what's worrying is like the political movement. This is not what we're in this situation isn't scientific or anything like that. It's not science that gets us out of this. There's not going to be a research paper that comes out in a few months' time that says, "Oh, actually, we now believe and understand that civilization, that if people think that that's going to happen, then they're under a rock, you know? This all comes from like us taking action, first of all, in ourselves, being individually better, like just leveling ourselves up. That's what everyone can do. And that's what I try and do every day. Like level yourself up, which means that then if we all level up, then profession levels up. And then that's a grow like that, you know, so that cause and effect. Um, but what's worrying for me is that if we look at the direction politically that things are taking, like we're struggling to open a school in Scotland as a profession. They're fighting really difficult, like right, really hard. But you look across and there's schools popping up all over the country, and it's just really difficult in this area. So politically, we're in a little bit of a
A
tricky
challenging time.
situation.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, it's really cool what you're saying is, hey, on a personal level, we all have some level of responsibility to level up, level up. I like that a lot. Cool, Christian. And I'm curious, this is again slightly more practical, but I imagine you have at least interviewed, I don't know if you've worked with, but at least interviewed hundreds of chiropractors across different clinics. I asked someone who exited a business with 100, close to 170 clinics last week. I asked them the same question, and I'm curious to see what you say. Across all these chiropractors you've stumbled across and you've interacted with, what is the difference? Like, what makes the great great? What's the difference between a good clinician versus a great clinician? Some commonalities that you see.
I mean, to me, all of these questions come back down to understanding of the philosophy of what we do. That's it. People who I think are fantastic chiropractors who are running amazing offices, they are first philosophically so sound that they know what it is that they do 100% and they're so certain on it. That's the first thing that I would say. And then the resilience. People are resilient enough that they don't stumble, they don't break, they have a big vision. That's also then the next thing I would say. So they understand the big idea, which is another philosophical concept, and they realize it's their duty to really spread it as far and wide as possible.
Yeah, yeah. So going back to that clarity and starting with the why, starting with the philosophy. You make it sound so simple.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think it is that simple. I mean, the biggest influence for me was joining, doing the Academy of Chiropractic Philosophers program as soon as I graduated. And that's where it all stemmed from, you know. I owe a lot to that program, not only for the program, but to the people I met on that program, surrounding myself with like-minded people. And that's just been the foundation.
Yeah, 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 amazing. Well, I hope lots and lots of people watching or listening to this because there's a lot of value given here, and you can really tell. Like, I can ask you a million tricky questions, and you would give me the answers which come from your core beliefs and your core philosophies and your core principles. There's no like, oh, let me just think how I feel on the day to answer that question, which is amazing. And one final question, I'm kind of curious selfishly because success, however you want to define success for yourselves, guys, but success, I believe, often comes with some hidden costs. That might be time, might be health related. You don't have kids yet. What have you had to sacrifice to get to where you are? Do you think about that?
Well,
Or you're so mission
I
driven? You're just all like,
don't, you know, it's sort of like there's certain things that I don't know if it's a sacrifice. You sacrifice your time, your resources, your finances to go in. But when everything that I do is aligned with my purpose and why I do what I do, you know, then it's a small sacrifice to pay for what's to come. I'd say that there's a huge invest. You need to think of it as a huge investment within yourself rather than a sacrifice. Sacrifice sounds like I can't do this. That's negative. I had to give this up for this, but it's not. It's just I didn't do this, and I chose to do this instead because it aligns with my mission and vision. So I would say that it's not a sacrifice. It's not a cost. It's an investment. Just like we explain to our clients when they come in, and if they say it's expensive, we say, well, if you look at the cost, but if you look at the value of it, it's actually worth every penny. And it's not. I don't see it as a sacrifice. Um, yeah.
that makes sense. I I tend to have these like two mindsets always. One is super logical and super science based and super practical, and the other one is more philosophical about my own personal life philosophies. when I was a little bit younger, I was getting really, and maybe the reason I'm saying this, Christian, is because I think some people would also say that. It's like, but Christian, how do I find my purpose? How do I know my purpose? You seem so certain. You seem so like 100% sure on that you're living with purpose. I don't think that's the norm. I think you're the exception to the rule. How do we help people with that?
That I mean, that's something that's one of my mentors really helped me with, Dr. Travis Corcoran. He has a great exercise. So if you want to reach out to me, I can help you with that exercise. I'm sure he would help you with it as well. Um, but it's not something that you just stumble across, you know? It's not like, oh, I was just walking in the woods and I look at my purpose. That was sin. I don't know. Like you worked for 8 years on the mission and vision for the clinic. It didn't just come to you in in a second. You didn't just stumble across the mission and vision. You took 8 years to refine it and define it. And that's the same thing with your purpose. You know? You've got to think about um two things. What are your characteristics? How do you help other people? And how do you see the world? And if you can incorporate that into a statement or a sentence, then you're in a great place.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I sometimes think we on social media, on the perfect internet, we always say what we want people to hear, but there is this thing that it keeps coming back on, and it's everything is a process. And that's why I actually wanted to ask you that question, because a lot of people think Christians got it all figured out and kept him like this. It's a process. It takes time and it takes work and it takes refinement. And as long as, by the way, you kept saying the same thing over and over again, which is definitely the theme of this podcast, is surround yourself with the right mentors in the right environment.
Yeah. I mean, you hear this all the time in the profession, right? We're standing on the shoulders of giants. And hopefully you don't send this out before my CE talk in a couple of weeks. But one thing is we do stand on the shoulders of giants, but only if you read what they wrote and you listen to what they said and you understand what they knew. If you just try and do it all yourself, you don't stand on their shoulders, you just tread their same path. If you listen to what they said and you ask the right questions, whether they're alive or they're not here anymore, then you get to skip. It's like you get to jump up the ladder. You don't have to step the ladder because you start to learn from them. But we only stand on the shoulders of giants if we learn from the things that they've done and the mistakes that they made. So that's why mentorship is so important because you can make all of the same mistakes. If someone said to me, oh, "How do I set up my first business?" I could tell you the wrong way how to do it, how I did it, or I could tell you what I learned, and this is how you do it. This is when you do this. This is the next step. Or you can figure it out for yourself. But if you have a mentor, they'll teach you how to do those things.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate that. Guys, I hope you're watching or listening to this. And Christian, one final question. I know your time is very valuable, sir. But depending on your belief system and religions, for the listeners, not just yourself, when it's all said and done and we're gone and no one knows about Top Cairo and it's like 200 years in the future, what do you actually want people to remember you for? Reverse engineer your life here. Maybe it's not a question
Very,
you've thought about.
uh, I think it's not necessarily. Someone asked a coach asked me this, and he said to me, actually, what's the exit strategy? And it's a little bit of a different question. I'm going to be a bit of a politician, but yes, ask me what's the exit strategy? When do you see this all being completed? I said probably not in my lifetime. I'll probably pass this on to someone else who can continue the work. And he said, "Oh, I've never heard anyone say that before." And I was like, it seemed like just such a normal thing for me. I was like, "Oh, I don't mind it. I'm not going to sell this for millions and just go and sit on a beach. That doesn't fulfill my purpose. That doesn't fulfill the mission and the vision, you know." Um, so yes, in a very broad sense, to leave this profession in a much better place than when I joined it. Um, yeah, my part of my purpose is to educate and provide opportunities for people. So I hope people remember me for that. Um, yeah, so there's a few things.
We all appreciate you for that, sir. And I am so excited to watch your journey in the near and long future. And if you really think about any long-lasting company that has truly left a mark on a dent on the planet, it's never been in the lifetime of the founder. It's been generations after. And I'm sure you are definitely on the path to getting there, which is amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Christian. Is there anything that People need to know like how to reach out to you if they have any, even if it's just a job opportunity or have a question on philosophy or they're not sure. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
You can reach out to me. Probably, I think the easiest way is on Instagram. Most people chat through that. That's how we connected. So if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, that's fine. I'm pretty responsive on that. So honestly, if people have questions, people are interested in anything that we're doing, want to join the team, I'm an open book. I'm there to share and to learn from.
And you are part of the UCA, right? You're on the team.
Yeah, I'm on the board for the UCA. So if anyone's at CE, come over and say hi.
That's next.
It's not this weekend, it's next weekend. Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to be there?
Yes, I am speaking at this one. It'd be
Oh, I know.
nice.
Yeah, of course. I'll see you there, my friend. I'll be on the first row.
Yeah. Nice. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much for your time. And I really, really, really appreciate you sharing this with our audience. I'm sure they will love it and they'll get lots of value. And thank you guys for watching. Until next time.